So I was playing Zelda the other day like a normal person, when all of a sudden I ran into this. A whole bunch of shelves. But also it had something really cool. And I had to take a closer look. These things that goes... And I decided right then and there I was going to make one because it was too expensive to buy. So I bought a really expensive plasma orb instead. It is so cool. And I decided I was going to do what the manufacturer said not to do. Take it apart. Don't try this at home, probably. So I unscrewed everything, ready to ruin what I just barely bought. And this is what it looked like on the inside. It's surprisingly simple. Doink. I'll definitely save this for later. It's important. Okay, this was probably the hardest part to do. It was glued in. How dare they? Anyways, I was like, and I finally got it. And then I made it look like it was so easy for the camera. See, easy. I just got it out of there without any problem. Perfect. Honestly, this thing was so fragile and I was so worried about breaking the glass. Anyways, I stuck this cord back in there and then I plugged it in, and I probably should have done that with gloves, but I didn't. And then I did this. This was the perfect way to get it to be the right size, and all I had to do was just tape it and trace it. It was awesome. I just had to make sure that the globe fit into the middle area that I needed. What middle area, maybe you ask? That one, right there. Now back to the electronics. So the electronics were really challenging because I was like, could I fit this in here or here in the frame or something? So I set that to the side, and then I grabbed the orb and I was like, oh man, those things will have to come off right there. Dang it. Aww. What do you think of my feet? Don't answer that, that's creepy. Anyways, so I got a board, and then I decided I needed to transfer all the image. So this is a charcoal paper, and I just traced the image on the piece of wood, and I got ready to cut it all out. I had to change again that area and cut off those little ends, but it was okay. So on this part right here, this is where this will go into this. So I had to make the same shape and put it in place. It's right there, and also it's right there. Time to cut it out. This is a scroll saw. I love scrolling on a social media platform. And this is how it turned out. Looks pretty good, huh? And then I took the glass orb, and this was so scary because like I was trying to press it in there and it like got pressurized in there. I was like, oh, this is gonna fit perfectly. I'm so happy. And then I put on the sides and I was testing it out, and it's like, yes, this will work. And then I was trying to get out and it was stuck. And I was like, oh, protect the orb. And then I realized I had tons more things to cut out because I had to thicken places up and thin other places down. So I cut out the first one. I was like, oh, this isn't going to be so bad. And I cut it out, and it's like, great, this is going to be easy. And that took longer than I thought, but it's going to be okay. And then I put it on there and then did another one, and I was like, perfect. Wow, this is amazing. Then I looked at everything else that I needed to do, and I was like, dang it, this is going to take forever. And it took forever. And then I got some Mod Podge and glued everything together. And it was actually really cool to see all these vices and clamps come together, but they took forever to dry. Oh, that was so hard waiting. After I took off the clamps, I had to start reshaping it and sanding it. I ate a lot of dust. And then I had to redraw on some things after I sanded them, but that was okay. And once I cut those out, it was super duper cool. And everything got so messy. Yeah. Alrighty, this took me forever. A really long time, and look at that. There still needs to be all these ones done. Still need to also make that one a little bit thinner too, right there. Oh boy, a lot more work to go. Oy. I was actually surprised at all the different tools I wound up using. Sanders and files and Dremels and stuff. Also, I really wanted to show you this. These are the things you don't see. Like all the working behind the scenes. In editing, it makes it look so easy, and but there's so much stuff that's happening behind the scenes. Anyways, that took absolutely forever, but oh, it turned out so cool. So then I was like, okay, the hard part. Now I need to take this right here, and I need to condense it. I realized I couldn't fit it in there. If I tried it in all these different spots and it just didn't work, so I had to start soldering it and taking it apart. I was so worried about this because when taking it apart, you can make so many things go wrong. And so many things went wrong. It was awful. It's probably the hardest electronic things I had to rebuild in my life. But it turned out great in the end. Initially, though, I put some cords in the wrong spot and I had to rechange them. But once I rechanged them and then I tested it out, I was so relieved. Oh, sorry, I'm getting emotional. It finally worked. So then I added some liquid tape to everything because there are so many things that could go wrong if you leave it exposed. And after it dried, it turned out really, really good. I had finally condensed all the electronics into a size that would actually fit into the frame of the Zonai Charge. Then I had to hollow out the sides, and I might have hollowed it out a bit too much. And then I realized I created a lot more work for myself, but oh well, because it fit. So then I realized I had to fix this, so what I did is I needed to mount this in place, and I took some tissue paper and I stuffed it in there with just a pointy stick. And then I realized that if I used tissue paper stuffed to the sides, and then I used super glue around the edges of the toilet paper or the tissue paper, it could actually seal it. And this is really, really cool, but it did a kind of violent reaction a little bit because it started smoking. But it didn't catch on fire, so I was okay. I used a thin piece of wood to fix the sides of where the electronics were showing through. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna fill this up with resin around all the components so it'll be super duper secure and safe. And I moved on to the sides again because I realized with the sides that were attached to the glass, if you pulled on the side, it would probably pop the glass and break it. So I added a piece of wood to the bottom, reshaped it, and rounded the edges. So here's a quick recap. Right here, I put 2 new plates on both sides just because it was broken up a little bit, and then filled it up with resin. This will go into the orb, and this right here will also fit around the orb, but this piece of wood will sit on top of here. I realized that the wire on the bottom piece had to go through the other piece, so I had to drill a hole. So scary trying to mount this. I gotta cut this into this with the razor. I was so worried about breaking the glass at this point, but I held my breath and it turned out okay. So when I opened this up, there's just a lot of little metal shavings in there, and I had this tube that was in there that I took out. So I had to make this little piece right here that would actually still make all the metal filings stay up in the bulb. Then I loosely assembled it. It was totally like a jigsaw puzzle that you had to assemble all the different parts kind of at the same time, because if you didn't do it at the same time, you'd have to take it apart. Okay, this is looking really cool. Now all I needed to do was glue this one ring to the other, and then also the wire went up and through and held in the metal shavings perfectly. That was random. But yes, glue this part. So I took some cotton off some little cotton swabs, and I rolled it into a little teeny thing. And then I took some super glue and put it on it, and it had a violent reaction. Also, when you do this, you have to be very careful. Do you see the smoke? Also, if you do this, please make sure to wear a face mask and keep a watch on this for a while after you do it, because it's awesome in how it works, but it's dangerous. Okay. Once it was dry and not smoking anymore, I reshaped it and then put a bag over the actual globe. And now I'm going to spray paint this with primer and get ready to paint it. It's so exciting! At first I sprayed it with a silver spray paint and I thought it was a primer, and it's like, oh, that's not a primer, so I had to repaint it. Let's use this. Then I used this to make it look antique and old-fashioned. It was hammered copper spray paint, I believe. Woohoo! So cool. Okay, so this is how it's currently looking. Got this nice and spray painted real great. What I need to do from here is highlight some things and paint this the teal color it needs to be. So that's what I did. I painted it turquoise. Doesn't it look awful? Okay, you just gotta trust in the process. So what I did is I took the color black and I actually went and mixed it with some water. And this actually watered it down in a way that it made a really cool wash that made a lot of it look really dirty and old, but also added a lot of character to it. From this light, it actually looks really good. But yes, now I'm going to wait for that to dry and then do some highlights. Once it was dry, I actually decided I wanted to deepen a lot of the grooves with a little bit of dark paint. So I took the same colors and made them a little bit stronger and then highlighted areas which made things actually pop. So it's actually really, really cool. Alright, so this is looking pretty good. I added a little bit more of just the same color that it had and brightened up some areas a little bit more so it still has the multiple effect. And now I'm going to add some highlights with a lighter color just along wherever there's edges. Okay, so this is the color that it currently has on it. So I'm going to make a little bit of a lighter color for highlights. This is called a dry brushing technique, where you stick it on here and it has it on it, but instead of just putting it right on there, you're going to get it so it's barely putting stuff on. And then you just lightly highlight the edge like that. And as you do this, it'll make all of these areas pop even further. At this point, it was starting to look a lot better. So this side has the highlights on it, and this side doesn't. And if you take a little step back, you can see how the highlights make it pop. After I did all of those different steps, I added a little bit more green with dry brushing, just a little bit around here, well, on the thing. And then it was amazing to me about how this made such a big difference. Now all I needed to do was add highlights on the copper color, and I used gold for that. At this point, the green till turquoise color was done, and also I was just barely finishing up this copper color, but I needed to do one more thing, and so I added a clear coat over the top of it to make it strong and last longer. Then I was able to take off the wrapping, and honestly, it was almost indescribable. It was so cool, and it amazes me even now. But I still needed to fire it up. So, the moment of truth, I had to test if everything worked correctly, and guess what? It did! So all that hard work paid off. If you want to get notified when I actually am finished making a project, hey, make sure to hit that bell icon. Random, but I found out that this could actually charge up a light bulb. If you want to see more Zelda projects, just check out my other videos. I love Zelda projects. Hey, thank you so much for joining me today. If you liked this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up. Also, if you haven't subscribed, if you want to subscribe, just subscribe. If you don't want to, that's okay too. Do what you want to do. Don't you forget, you're amazing. Have a great day. Bye.